Hello everyone, here is Ken. Today I'll be presenting a McCann style country analysis of Singapore. I'm applying McCann's framework, which focuses on globalization, city regions, and policy mobilities to understand Singapore's development and challenge as a global city-state. Now, what's McCann's framework? McCann's framework emphasizes on how countries and cities are shaped by global connections. He focused on how city regions act as engines of economic growth, how multinationals influence development, and how government learned from the adapt international policy, a process called policy mobility. For Singapore, this means looking at how the city has connected itself to global trade and adapt global best practice locally. Singapore is a small but powerful city-state with about 6.1 million people in 2025 and a GDP with around 547 billion US dollars in 2024. It's a parliamentary republic known for strong governance and a pro-business environment. Singapore is also one of the world's top financial and logistic hub. After gaining independence in 1965, Singapore pursued a development path centered on trade, industrialization, and foreign investment. The government used strategic urban planning to develop efficient housing, transport, and infrastructure, which McCann could call leveraging a city region advantage. Projects like Changi Airport and Smart Nation initiative show how Singapore uses a city scale to coordinate growth. Singapore's economy is deeply integrated into global networks. It's driven by advanced manufacturing like electronics and pharmaceutical and a strong service sector such as finance, logistics, and tourism. In year 2024, Singapore achieved roughly 4% GDP growth. That's amazing, man. Reflecting resilience but also dependence on global trade pattern. This matches McCann's view that global cities thrive to flow of capital, goods, and knowledge. Singapore's success relies heavily on strong state institutions like the Ministry of Trade and Industry and the Monetary Authority of Singapore that coordinate economic and social policy. It's an example of high capacity, proactive state that adopts the localized global policy ideas. This reflects McCann's idea of policy mobility, borrowing and adapting international best practice. Singapore's population is growing mainly due to foreign workers, which supports its economic, but also raises social integration challenges. At the same time, the population is aging, putting pressure on healthcare and social systems. The government is addressing inadequacy and high living costs, but balancing openness with social cohesion remains key issue. Innovation is central to Singapore's growth. Agencies like A-Star and EDB promotes R&D with Skill Future programs, retain workers for the digital economy. Through initiatives like Smart Nation, Singapore is building a data-driven, connected society, again showing McCann's notion of learning from global models and tailing them locally. Singapore faces rising climate risks, including heat, flooding, and sea level rise. The third National Climate Change Study (V3) provides projection to guide planning. The government invests heavily in coastal protection, drainage system, and sustainable infrastructures, demonstrating how a global city adapts international climate strategies to its own local context. Okay, here, from McCann's perspective, Singapore faces four main challenges. Firstly, dependence on global trade. Singapore's economy relies heavily on external demand and global supply chains. Geopolitical tensions, trade wars, and global recessions can directly impact export and investment. The challenge is to diversity its trade and innovation base while maintaining openness. And second, with a rapid aging population and low birth rate, Singapore faces future labor shortage and increases healthcare cost. Reliance on foreign laborers fill immediate gaps but raises concern about social cohesion and national identity. And thirdly, as a small island nation, Singapore must balance urban expansion, green spaces, and infrastructure within very limited land. Rising sea levels and climate change exacerbate these physical constraints, require large-scale adaptation in investment. And lastly, with the GDP per capita is among the highest globally, income inadequate and the cost of living remain pressing issue. Ensure that technological progresses and globalization benefit all citizens is a key policy challenge. Despite these challenges, Singapore's global connectivity and strong governance present major opportunities. One, supply chain diversification in Southeast Asia. With companies relocating operating from China to ASEAN countries, Singapore can position itself a command center for logistic, finance, and advanced service, coordinating regional value chains. Secondly, Singapore's heavily investment in sustainability and digital transformation creates potential to lead a green finance, renewable technology, and smart urban system supporting a just energy transition. Third, exporting urban and climate expertise. Singapore's success in water management, smart infrastructures, and coastal protection can be exposed as consultancy and technology solution to other countries facing similar urban challenges. And number four, regional innovation and policy hub. Leveraging its education, research institution, and policy network, Singapore can serve as a hub for Southeast Asian innovation, governments training, and cross-border collaboration. Using McCann's framework of policy mobility, urban governance, and institute adaptability, the following recommendations build on Singapore's strategy and address its key challenges. First, invest in a large-scale multifunctional infrastructure and integrates coastal protection with urban development. For example, develop the Long Island project as both a sea barrier and new urban spaces. Encourage public-private partnerships to finance adaptation and maintain flexibility for future environmental shifts. Secondly, foster includes human capital development, which means expand skill futures and workforce retrain programs, especially for mid-career workers in manufacturing and service sector affected by automation, introduce stronger society safety nets such as progressive wage models and housing affordability schemes to promote social equality uh, to, to promote social equity and long-term stability. And third, maintain manage openness and social cohesion. Continue attracting high-skilled foreign talent and FDI, but enhance integration program for migration and strengthen community engagement initiatives. Develop targeted subsidies for low-income groups to mitigate inequality arising for globalization. And number four, accelerate the green and digital economic transition. Implanting cross-sector innovation cluster focusing on renewable energy, green consumption, green constructions, and digital logistics provide incentives for SMEs to adopt green technologies and digital systems, fostering inclusive growth across firm sizes. And number five, leverage global policy mobility to export expertise. Position Singapore as a regional center for policy learning and consultancy. Share best practices in urban resilience, digital governance, and climate adaptation through partnership with ASEAN countries. This not only diversity to economic, but enhance Singapore's soft power as a knowledge hub. In conclusion, Singapore exemplifies McCann's global city region model, demonstrating how a small nation can leverage strategic governance, strong institutions, and urban planning to complete globally. Its economic success is intertwined with its openness to trade innovation and foreign talent, while robust policies ensure adaptability to demographic and environmental challenges. The future trajectory of Singapore depends on its ability to maintain a balance between economic growth, social inclusion, and climate resilience. By continuing to adopt the localization international best practice, Singapore can sustain its competitiveness advantages, serve as a regional policy and innovation hub, and provide a model for other small city-states facing similar challenges like Tokyo and Hong Kong in a globalization world. The city-states experience highlights the importance of policy mobility, institutional capacities, and long-term strategic planning in achieving sustainable and urban economic development. And here is references. This is reference as well. And that's it. Thank you for listening.